My former girlfriend invited me to her wedding with the sole intention of embarrassing me by flaunting her wealthy new partner. To counter her plans, I brought along a remarkable guest as my plus one. By the end of the night, her celebration turned into tears, as her marriage unraveled before it even began. Despite her shouting, I remained calm and reminded her that every man has different priorities. Ben, being from an affluent background, might not value his career as much as I do, but I am passionate about mine. I told her that if she desired someone like Ben, she should be with him. I also mentioned that we shouldn't argue further and that she should move out of our shared apartment as soon as possible. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she asked how I planned to afford the rent alone. I calmly explained that I had recently received a raise and was now fully capable of covering the rent without any roommates. Hearing this, she erupted into accusations, claiming I was trying to show off. She began boasting about Ben's wealth, emphasizing that he even owned a house purchased by his father. She insisted I needed to change and become more accommodating. With a sneer, she declared that, ultimately, women preferred a house husband over a career-driven man. Frustrated, I firmly asked her to stop talking, as I was exhausted from the endless arguments. I told her she had until the end of the month to leave, and, until then, she could sleep on the couch. Despite her continued grumbling, I ignored her and went to bed. Over the following week, Lily began packing her belongings and gradually moving out. I felt a growing sense of excitement at the thought of finally having the apartment to myself. However, on her last night, I returned home to find Lily and Ben sitting on our couch. Shocked, I asked her what was going on. She casually informed me that, since it was her final evening in the apartment, she wanted to show Ben where she had been living. I was stunned by her audacity to bring another man into the apartment without informing me, knowing I'd be home. Despite my irritation, I decided not to take it out on Ben, as he wasn't directly at fault. I greeted him politely, but he returned my courtesy with a disdainful look, refusing to acknowledge me. I chose to ignore his rudeness and went to freshen up. Later, as I was cooking pasta in the kitchen, Ben came to get a glass of water. He stood silently watching me, which made me feel uncomfortable. I asked if he needed something, but he responded with the same scornful expression. Deciding it wasn't worth my energy, I continued cooking and planned to enjoy my meal in my bedroom. As I was heading back downstairs after eating, I overheard a conversation between Lily and Ben. He was mockingly telling her how fortunate she was to have upgraded from someone like me. My heart sank as I heard Lily laughing and agreeing with him. He then asked her why she had ever dated me, and her response shattered me. She admitted she had used me because I was naive enough to pay for our dates and lend her money during college. She even confessed that I had been covering more than half the rent for years, allowing her to save up. Her words pierced me deeply, and I froze, unable to process the betrayal. As they continued ridiculing me and mocking our relationship, I felt completely humiliated. Fighting back tears, I quietly returned to my room and spent the night sobbing into my pillow. The next morning, Lily and Ben were gone, and she had taken the last of her belongings. I wandered through the now empty apartment, feeling a mix of sorrow and relief. I was finally free of her. I cried tears of joy, realizing that I could start fresh. Determined to erase any trace of her, I cleaned every corner of the apartment. In the weeks that followed, I relished my newfound independence. I stopped dwelling on Lily and Ben's cruel words, and life seemed to improve. However, 2 months later, a mutual friend at work informed me that Lily and Ben were getting married. The news caught me off guard, as it felt incredibly sudden. My friend showed me their engagement photos, where they both appeared blissfully happy. While I felt a twinge of sadness for how Lily had used me over the years, I also realized I would never have been truly happy with her. I took comfort in knowing she had found someone who seemed to align with her desires. That evening, however, when I returned home, I discovered an unexpected wedding invitation in my mailbox. My heart skipped a beat as I saw it was from Lily and Ben. At first, I thought it might be a polite gesture, a token invitation extended out of courtesy. But as I opened the card, my eyes caught a handwritten note scribbled in the corner. It read, "I want you to attend my wedding so you can witness the grand life I'm going to have with Ben." I was stunned. Her message wasn't just unnecessary, it was downright cruel. The realization hit me. She had invited me solely to flaunt her new life, her wealthy fiancé, and her apparent happiness. I took a deep breath, trying to process why someone would stoop so low after everything I had done for her. The years of frustration and resentment I had buried began to bubble to the surface. That night, I decided I wouldn't let her get away with this. If she wanted to play games, I would give her one to remember. With a determined resolve, I RSVP'd with a +1 and started formulating a plan to turn her little show into an unforgettable event. I logged onto my laptop and scrolled through Ben's social media profiles. Hours of searching through posts and pictures finally led me to what I needed: a series of photos featuring Ben with a woman named Jessica. Judging by the timestamps, Ben and Jessica had been in a long-term relationship until about 6 months ago. Intrigued, I sent her a friend request. To my surprise, she accepted, and soon we were chatting. I introduced myself as Lily's ex and explained my situation, sharing my plan to attend the wedding with her as my guest. Jessica was initially curious and a little wary, but as we continued to talk, she opened up. She revealed that Ben had cheated on her multiple times, with his most recent affair being none other than Lily. This revelation stunned me. I had no idea Ben and Lily's relationship had started with betrayal. Jessica went on to explain how Ben's infidelity and penchant for younger women had caused their breakup. Despite her bitterness, it was clear she still had unresolved feelings for him. As our conversations progressed, Jessica began to warm up to the idea of attending the wedding with me. It was less about revenge for her and more about closure. For me, it was about ensuring that Lily's plan to humiliate me backfired spectacularly. Together, we devised a strategy that would ensure the wedding was a day Lily and Ben would never forget, for all the wrong reasons. I also shared my past experiences with Jessica, opening up about the years I had spent with Lily and how she had used me. I poured my heart out, describing everything Lily had put me through, the betrayal, and how she and Ben had made fun of me behind my back. Jessica was visibly shocked to hear about the way Lily had treated me and the things she had said about me. After hearing my story, Jessica finally agreed to accompany me to the wedding. I couldn't help but feel a spark of excitement at the thought of seeing the expressions on Lily's and Ben's faces when they saw me walk in with Jessica. The big day arrived. As expected, Lily's eyes widened in shock the moment she saw me enter the venue with Jessica. It was clear she immediately recognized Jessica as Ben's ex. We ignored her stunned expression, calmly finding our designated seats. Moments later, Lily approached me, whispering angrily, "Why are you here with Ben's ex?" I simply smiled at her, enjoying the turmoil on her face. Unable to make a scene in front of all her guests, she had no choice but to begrudgingly return to the aisle, shooting daggers at me over her shoulder. When it was time for the groom to make his entrance, everyone stood. Ben looked sharp in his black tuxedo as he walked down the aisle with his father by his side. The ceremony itself was smooth and uneventful. However, I could feel Lily's eyes burning into me and Jessica throughout the event. After the ceremony, the celebrations moved to the reception area. Ben had changed into a different suit, looking every bit the dashing groom. Jessica and I kept things low-key, making sure to ignore Lily's furious glares and Ben's evident irritation. I knew Lily was desperate to confront us, but she couldn't risk causing a scene on her wedding day. Meanwhile, I quietly observed everything, savoring the satisfaction of knowing that my presence was already making an impact. As the party continued, Lily finally couldn't hold herself back. She approached Jessica and me, her forced smile failing to mask her anger. In a low, hissed tone, she said through clenched teeth, "What are you two doing here? Do you really think you can ruin my special day?" Before I could respond, Jessica smirked and shot back, "Oh, Lily dear, we're not here to ruin anything. We're here to celebrate. After all, it's such a big day, isn't it?" Lily's expression darkened as she struggled to keep her temper in check. Sensing she was about to lose control, I interrupted with a calm but pointed remark. "Let's keep up appearances, Lily. You wouldn't want your new husband to think you're still so obsessed with me, would you?" Her eyes flashed with rage, but she turned on her heel and stormed back to Ben, who remained blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding. Jessica and I made sure to look like we were having the time of our lives, laughing and sharing inside jokes. The truth was, what began as a plan for revenge was starting to feel more genuine. Jessica was sharp, witty, and most importantly, she understood the pain I'd endured. As we danced, I noticed Ben approach Jessica. He looked agitated, and soon the two were engaged in a heated but hushed argument. Curious, I moved closer, pretending not to eavesdrop. I caught snippets of Ben saying, "Why are you here with him? This has nothing to do with you. We're over, remember?" Jessica laughed bitterly, her voice laced with sarcasm. We're over because you cheated on me, Ben. Or have you conveniently forgotten? And now you think you can dictate who I spend my time with. Ben looked frustrated, struggling to maintain his composure. I decided it was the perfect moment to take things up a notch. I picked up a glass of champagne and walked to the microphone, flashing a charming smile. Sorry to interrupt, everyone, I began, my voice cutting through the chatter. The room fell silent and all eyes turned to me, including Lily's and Ben's incredulous stares. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the bride, Lily, for inviting me to this very special event, I continued, pausing to let the tension build. For those who don't know me, I'm her ex. And I'm genuinely happy to see that she's found someone who can give her the life she's always dreamed of. I turned my gaze to Ben and added with a sly smile, by the way, Ben, congratulations on your acquisition. I mean your marriage. The room fell into an awkward silence, with guests exchanging uncertain glances. Lily looked like she was on the verge of breaking down in tears, while Ben clenched his fists, barely containing his anger. But I wasn't finished yet. I'd also like to raise a glass to honesty and transparency in a relationship, I continued, lifting my glass and staring directly at Ben and Lily. May you never lack them like I did. I took a slow sip, smiling mockingly. At this point, Ben was furious. He slammed down his glass and started storming toward me. But a few mutual friends stepped in to hold him back before he could reach me. You've crossed the line, he shouted, his face flushed with rage. I just kept smiling. You think this is funny? You think you can just come here and ruin our day? Looking him straight in the eye, I remained calm. I didn't ruin anything, Ben. I'm just here to see how things go when you can't buy someone's respect or love. As Ben struggled against those restraining him, Lily began to sob, tears streaming down her face. She shouted at Ben, "Why are you paying attention to him? This is our day, Ben, not his." What happened next took everyone by surprise. Jessica, who had stayed silent by my side until now, stepped forward and spoke loudly for everyone to hear. You know, Ben, you deserve this, she said with a pointed glare. I remember very well how you toyed with my feelings while you were already eyeing Lily. Her words echoed through the room, leaving everyone stunned. Guests whispered among themselves, shocked by the unexpected spectacle. Ben, speechless, looked at Jessica with a mix of anger and surprise. Lily, consumed by desperation, began yelling, I should never have invited you, you ungrateful jerk. I just wanted to show you that I'm better off without you. I merely shrugged and replied, and I wanted to see if you really were. Apparently, you still have something to prove to me. By now, the venue's security staff was approaching, but Jessica and I were already ready to leave. As we walked toward the exit, I could hear Lily and Ben's shouting echoing through the hall. The fairy tale wedding Lily had planned had turned into a disaster. And in a way, I felt satisfied to have given her a taste of what she had tried to do to me. On the way out, Jessica turned to me and asked, Do you think we went too far? I chuckled softly and replied, I think we went just as far as we needed to. In the days that followed, rumors started to circulate. Mutual friends unknowingly fed my curiosity. I heard that Ben and Lily had a massive fight, and their marriage was already on the rocks. Despite their attempts to keep up appearances, posting smiling photos on social media and attending social events as if everything was perfect, everyone knew the truth. Their marriage had started on a disastrous note. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of justice. Jessica and I moved on with our lives, but a part of me couldn't help but wonder what the future held for Lily and Ben. One thing was certain, though. They'd never forget the wedding that became the talk of the town, that I knew Lily well enough to recognize that her smiling face concealed a storm about to explode. That storm hit faster and harder than I expected. Not long after, I learned that their honeymoon had been a complete disaster. Ben, who had remained quiet during the wedding scandal, exploded with anger as soon as their plane touched down at the exotic destination they had chosen. He couldn't get the humiliation of facing Jessica and me out of his head, the loser that he and Lily had often belittled. They fought almost the entire trip, every dinner, every outing. The tension was palpable. Ben accused Lily of inviting Jessica and me on purpose, while Lily cried, trying to defend herself, insisting she only wanted to show that she had moved on. He called her selfish, saying she only thought of herself and couldn't understand how she could be so reckless as to nearly ruin her own reputation on their wedding day. When they returned, things got even worse. Ben, who had initially seemed unconcerned about money, started pressuring Lily to contribute more to their expenses. He was now dealing with the financial strain from the extravagant wedding and honeymoon. The love and romance quickly vanished, and each day brought a new argument about money, contributions, and their future. Then one day, a mutual friend called me, eager to share the latest news. Lily had moved back in with her parents after a fight so intense that the neighbors almost called the police. "You won't believe this," he said, trying to contain his excitement. "They're practically separated. From what I heard, he's the one who kicked her out." I tried not to show too much interest, but I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Ben, the perfect wealthy guy, was now alone in the house his father had bought for him, while Lily found herself forced to return to the very place she had tried so hard to escape, her parents' home, without the financial freedom she had built up over the years. A few weeks later, I found out that Ben had stumbled upon old messages from Lily, where she talked about how she had used my generosity to save money while we were together. That was the final straw for him. "She used me, just like she used to," he supposedly told a friend who still kept in touch with both of them. The humiliation he had felt during the wedding now mixed with the bitterness of realizing that maybe he wasn't so different from me in her eyes. Ben felt betrayed, and Lily, seeing she couldn't save the marriage, fell into despair. Around that time, Lily started trying to contact me again. At first, it was simple messages as if she wanted to clarify what had happened at the wedding. Then came the phone calls, one after another, where she cried, saying she didn't know what to do, that Ben had left her with nothing. I ignored every attempt, blocking each new number she used to try and reach me. I had already done my part. She had used me, humiliated me, and tried to step on me, but now she was sinking on her own. One day, when I was leaving work, I ran into Jessica, and we ended up going for coffee together. She always knew the latest updates before I did. "Did you hear that Ben put the house up for sale?" she asked with a mischievous smile. "Looks like things didn't turn out as well as he expected. Apparently, his parents aren't too happy with how he handled all this either. I think he's lost their financial support." I couldn't help but laugh. The great Ben, who once seemed untouchable in his privileged position, was now trying to sell the house he had used to impress Lily. I knew that his downfall wasn't entirely my doing, but I couldn't help but feel that my presence at that wedding had been the spark that set everything else in motion. The months passed, and Lily stopped trying to contact me. She seemed to have finally realized that there was nothing more she could get from me. As for me, I was enjoying every moment of my new life. My career was going well, and living alone was everything I needed to start fresh. One night, while I was watching a movie, I got a message from Jessica. She had come across a long social media post from Lily, talking about learning from mistakes and the importance of valuing those who are by your side. It was clearly a regretful message about what she had lost, an attempt to paint herself as the victim after everything she had done. I just laughed and replied to Jessica, "Some people never change." Deep down, I knew that even if Lily tried to rewrite her version of the story, I had finally come out on top. She had tried to humiliate me, but she ended up sinking in her own arrogance. Ben, who had entered her life as the grand prize, had become a constant reminder that appearances don't last forever. As for me, I moved on, free from the weight of both of them, with the satisfaction of knowing that the best revenge was watching their relationship crumble without me lifting a finger, beyond accepting that invitation.